1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Dianne Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show.
Dianne, how were your oysters?
I'm afraid to answer that because I had some stomach issues the next day, and I didn't know if it was oysters or I hadn't been drinking for a while, and I had oysters and a couple strong cocktails.
Don't name the
and
place.
3 beers.
We're far too famous. We're far too famous. We'll get sued. Don't name the place.
I'm not going to name the place. Did they mess you up?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. I think I just had too many beers after the oysters. Oysters and alcohol kind of upset my stomach the next day.
So we went to lunch with a couple of friends, and you had fancy oysters, and then I sat there like an 8-year-old and ordered fries and onion rings.
You tried one though, didn't you try an oyster?
I did try an oyster.
Did you hate it?
No, I loved it.
Oh, okay.
I loved it, but you can only have one. Like, I don't understand how people can sit down and order 24 oysters.
I can't eat that many.
They are the mucus of the sea, and the mucus of the sea is delicious, but you can only have one.
Did you put it on the cracker or did you go straight from the shell? I can't remember.
No, I went straight from the shell. I don't know if that's the right hipster way to do it, but I know, like, the last time I had oysters, I was sitting with a legendary hipster foodie bartender type years ago. And he was watching me eat oysters, and he told me I was doing it all wrong. Like, you raw dog oysters.
Okay.
You don't put the horseradish on it. You don't put the red sauce on it. Like, it just comes right out of the shell and into your mouth. That's how you do it.
Okay. Let people eat how they want to eat. All right. I like the crunch of the cracker. I like the horseradish, but yeah, I'll do both ways. I'll do one straight from the shell, then I'll do one with the cracker. I'll do one with the cracker with this sauce, and I'll do one with the cracker with this sauce. People can eat oysters however they want. You can fry them. You can do whatever.
Damn right. And then after you had oysters, you went to the Come and Take It Comedy Festival. How was that?
That was good.
Yeah.
I went to the early show. Me and Kelly went to the 8:00 show because Andy was on it. Our pal Andy, who was also eating oysters with us, and I wanted to see Roy Scovel because I've never seen him live.
How was that?
I laughed so hard. It was Kelly and I were both kind of losing our shit, and it was good. We get to see Billy D. Washington, who's also been on this podcast, and some other comics, and it was a good time. It's good to get out and see some comedy again.
I love going to stand-up shows now that I'm many, many years removed from trying to be a stand-up because the jealousy is gone. Like, there'd be times where you'd hate watch people, or at least I would. Like, my ego wouldn't let me enjoy it the way that I want to. Like, I would be sitting in the back going, I wish I thought of that, or you missed a joke there, or you know what I mean? Like, or just be watching for, like, hoping that they would fail at something technical that I understood. But now I go see it and just I just enjoy the shit out of it. Like,
it makes me want to do it again. It makes me like, why can't I get my life together enough to start going to open mics and doing this again? Because the ego of me is like, you can just jump right in. It's like riding a bike. But the logical part of my brain's like, no, you got to find your voice again. You got to fine tune a joke. See if you think it works in your head and the audience hates it, you got to figure out why. And I'm like, I just don't have that kind of time anymore. Just don't have it.
One of the bars that I work at is closed, so we're all off. And there was a bar down in your neck of the woods that offered to have us come in and work it for a night. So it was me and 2 other dudes, so just 3 guys piling into a car and taking a half-hour drive up to the side. It reminded me so much of doing a one-nighter.
Yeah.
Like, I had this weird anxiety where it's just like, I'm looking around like I'm the oldest guy in the car and I'm driving, so that means that I must be the headliner. Like, I don't have an act.
Oh, that's fun. How was the night? It's a cute little bar.
It was fun. It was an awful lot of fun. I really, really liked it. I was kind of afraid. Like, I was worried that we were, because it's hipster bartending, where you're making like classic cocktails, and like we don't have Bud Lights or Michelob Ultra or anything like that. So I was afraid there was going to be like 10 years ago where I was going to have to say, I hate saying this. I was afraid that I was going to have to go back to the "that's not what we do here" era of my life. Like, I don't want to go back, but that didn't happen at all. It was a fantastic. It's called Rosewater in Clear Lake. If you're in Clear Lake and you haven't been to Rosewater, fucking go to Rosewater.
It's
Holy
great.
shit, is that a nice bar?
It's a nice little bar. I liked it a lot. I've been there a couple times and I liked it a lot.
We're doing the Flaming Lips today, and I'm sorry I need to ask you because my boozy brain doesn't remember anything. Who do I have to thank for finally turning me on to the Flaming Lips?
Sally Brooks from our friend Sally Brooks. She's a comedian and she's living in Atlanta right now. They've been on the podcast. Her and Jen O'Neill. They are from the Dumb Love podcast, and they are our Patreon members, and that's who we join.
Thank you. It's so, like, nothing says that I'm a out of touch 40-year-old more than falling in love with a new band that's been recording for 29 years.
Yes, we had a conversation about this. So I've always known the Flaming Lips. Like, you know, when the first song I heard from them was the Vaseline song. And, you know, it's fun, it's silly. I just blew them off as like a silly band. And then Do You Realize blew my mind. That's just a dreamy, beautiful song that has the same idea of death that I do. And then I knew of this song, but I never like fully bought an album or dove in. And I knew that people loved them and they put on great shows. It's one of those bands I never had time to dive in until this week. And I was texting you. I was like, Ben, I'm loving it. Like, what is happening to me?
I was the same way. Okay, the first time I heard of the Flaming Lips, and this is just me being a snotty asshole, but I was like in the mid 90s, they appeared on Beverly Hills 90210, which I loved. I absolutely loved that show. But I knew in my head that if a band is on 90210, they can't be cool. So like my teenage brain just like completely shut down on the Flaming Lips for years. Like,
so, I don't remember that. Did they go see them in concert? It doesn't seem like their music aligned with that show at all.
They played the Peach Pit after dark, Diane.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Flaming Lips are absolutely, there's no reason to experiment with music anymore. If you're a youngster and you're getting into music, there's no really, like, Wayne Coyne has done everything. You want to make 4 CDs that have to be played simultaneously in order to be enjoyed? Wayne Coyne has already done that. Is there a worldwide pandemic and nobody can get within 6 feet of each other, so you want the whole audience to be in little like hamster bubbles? Wayne Coyne has already done that. Do you want to release an album that's just on like a little hard drive that's embedded in a jelly human skull? Wayne Coyne has already done that. Like, there's nothing you can do. The man has done it all. It's crazy.
And I think that's a part of where I fell in love with the Flaming Lips. I should rephrase. I'm like, I fell in love with him. Because the first time I saw him was in that Vaseline video, and he was just like a kid with bright red dyed hair. It wasn't really doing it for me. But to see him as a grown man in this video, the way he's playing in this video, I was like, oh my God. I was having a moment. Or I was like, oh, this is all my wheelhouse. I had developed a very hardcore crush.
I love you, you Oklahoma hippie, you.
I mean, he's from Oklahoma. I mean, when you look at him, you're like, this is a psychedelic, mushroom-loving, San Francisco, flamboyant, scarf-wearing. No, not only is he from Oklahoma, he makes it his permanent home, and he loves it.
It's absolutely amazing. There's nothing better than a good, proper Southern hippie. I thought it was Texas hippies. It might be Oklahoma hippies.
I think you're right.
So we're doing Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, which is a crazy, crazy little tune. Now, I was listening to, they had a little, they put out a little documentary on YouTube that's all about the production of their, it's a whole album, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, and it's kind of a concept album in the sense that it tells a story, but the story only flows through the first 4 songs, and then after that it becomes just like a normal album. So he kind of winces a little bit, when people think of it, is this prog rock, is this a concept album? He's like, no, we're not, that's not what we're doing. He just had this idea. We're going to talk about the lyrics, but it's important to note like where it comes from. So on this little documentary, they were saying, one of the other band members asked him, like, how did you come up with the lyrics? And Wayne Coyne said, well, I listened to the melody that you had come up with, and then I took 8 hits of acid.
I can't imagine 8.
No, me either. When was the last time you did acid?
High school, the one time in high school. I've done mushrooms and stuff since then, but acid did me dirty. Did me dirty. No.
Oh, really? You had a bad trip?
Oh, yeah.
I did it. I'm like you. I did it once when I was like 20 and never really felt the need. I enjoyed it. I didn't have a bad trip, but I never really felt the need to go back because it definitely felt like my brain was scrambled in a way that I didn't. I was like, yeah, I did that. That was fun. Okay, you'll tick that one off. I never felt the urge to go back to that one.
Yeah, I won't go into it too deep because I have talked about it before on the podcast, but I found out, fast forward to the future, I found out there's schizophrenia in my bloodline. And I had a friend in high school who had it in his family bloodline, did acid and never came back. Like he in the institution. And that's the driving force that I felt when I was on it, was that I opened something up, and my fear the whole next day, my fear for years was like, I'm not gonna come back. Like I thought I'd turned, like I'm gonna have not Alzheimer's, schizophrenia. So my whole body was like, let other people do it. This isn't for you. It's not good for you.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like I don't want to have scrambled eggs. That's why when I think of 8 hits of acid, I'm just like, your brain is going to be no. So anyway, that's what we're doing. We're talking. These lyrics were written by a man on 8 hits of acid, which is unfathomable to me. I understand that makes me kind of weak, but
I don't say weak. I mean, I think somebody. Oh no, I gotta stop there. I'm gonna like shit on people by saying they have simple minds. I don't believe it has the powers that it does. I think it does open up a very active imagination. But I don't think anybody talks to fucking God on acid.
No, you want to talk to God, you have to eat mushrooms. That's where God lives in the mushrooms.
Yes, that's Roy Scoville's joke. Planet. He's like, I've talked to God. His phone number is mushrooms.
Yoshimi battles the pink robots. We're doing part 1, right? I didn't even look at part 2.
Yes,
okay, yes. Excellent. But that was, I don't know if I was really asking a question so much as just like insisting, like we're definitely doing part 1.
That's what I know.
If you wanted to do part 2, you can do it with somebody else. Because
her name is Yoshimi. She's a black belt in karate, working for the city. She has to discipline her body.
Her name is Yoshimi. She's a black belt in karate, working for the city. She has to discipline her body. I like that. I just like that turnaround. She's a black belt in karate, working for the city.
Working like this is. It's so like silly superhero where her only power is karate.
Yeah.
'Cause she knows that it's demanding to defeat those evil machines. I know she can beat them.
'Cause she knows that it's demanding to defeat those evil machines. Yeah, we're getting weird. I know she can beat them.
Oh, Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots eat me. Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots defeat me.
Oh, Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots defeat me. Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots defeat me.
Those evil-natured robots, they're programmed to destroy us. She's gotta be strong to fight them, so she's taking lots of vitamins.
Those evil-natured robots, they're programmed to destroy us. She's got to be strong to fight them, so she's taking lots of vitamins. because she knows that it'd be tragic if those evil robots win. I know she can beat them. So this is very like sci-fi fun.
Hold on, I just do want to point out that these are evil-natured robots. These are
Yeah.
robot, and the way, and he did the album artwork, and he did it real quick, one take, one big robot, which you guys can see on the promo. And she's just gonna beat him with some karate. She's this big compared to this big pink robot, and just a little hiya is gonna get it done.
Fighting evil space robots with karate. You've got Charlie is 7 years old, right? Somewhere around there.
He's 8.5.
He's 8.5 now, so he's going to start writing his own science fiction pretty soon.
Oh, he already has. He writes science fiction comic books. The one he's writing right now is called Emotion Explosion.
I love it.
This bad man, he has all of his emotions built up, and he explodes, and all of his emotions come out separately as different villains, and they're going to fight. He came up with this on his own. Brilliant. I know. And he's working hard on it right now.
I mean, that's really great. That's an excellent idea.
So yeah.
Oh man.
He drew it like this villain, and it's all black, and then it just has so many emotions it explodes, and then he has all these different color emotions that have different skills.
What did he decide is his most evil emotion?
I don't know yet. He's at his grandmother's today, and he took his comic book and a lot of blank pages so he could keep writing the story.
Wow.
And he draws boxes, and he draws it in comic book form.
Yeah. Good for him. Explore your head, kid, but not with acid. Not yet.
You don't need it.
No. You don't need an 8-year-old on acid.
No. He's got my crazy and Corbin's crazy and our line of schizophrenia and his autism in his brain. He is good to go.
He is ready to have a happy, eventful life. Where were we? She's gonna fight him. She's taking lots of vitamins. Oh, Yoshimi, they don't believe me, but you won't let those robots defeat me. Yoshimi, they don't believe me, because she knows that it'd be tragic if those evil robots win. I know she can beat them. I think that's pretty much the, yeah, those are the lyrics. No, Yoshimi, they don't believe me. They don't believe me. So it's fun. So where did this song come from? Well, the Flaming Lips went down to Austin from their home base in Oklahoma City to go meet a band from Japan called the Boredoms. And I apologize, we're huge. I don't know if you knew this, but Rock the Cash Bar is huge in Japan. So I want to apologize to our sea of Japanese listeners when I mispronounce this. But there's a musician called Yoshimi Piwei, who is a multi-instrumentalist and a vocalist. She plays drums and all manner of things. So they were going down to see this strange band that was playing Austin from Japan, and they met Yoshimi. Yoshimi speaks very little English, and the Flaming Lips, of course, speak absolutely no Japanese. So they got together and just spoke music to each other. They took Yoshimi into the studio, and they had her record singing and instrumental parts and everything like that they took back to their studio in Oklahoma and started, overdubbing and doing the studio magic. There's a great quote from Wayne Coyne where he says, if anybody asks me what musical instrument I play, I just say the recording studio.
Very honest.
Yeah, he's just a sci-fi dude who just likes to sit there with a master control board or whatever and just start, making strange sounds. So that's what he did with Yoshimi, and that's where this song comes from. So the character Yoshimi is based on the musician Yoshimi, and that's sort of where this idea of fantastic robots came from. It comes from meeting this fantastic musician and then also taking an acid trip and having this strange idea of like, well, why do we have her fight robots, man?
Yeah. Did you see that quote? Let's see, because they talk about the Boredoms were, and this happened a lot in the 90s, a noise rock group from the early 90s, and there was a lot of experimental noise rock shit. They compared it to like Sonic Youth, which I listened to a lot of, and will admit as an adult that it sucked. Sonic Youth did in fact suck. But it was fun. I do like experimental though. I don't like boring. That's why we talk about it all the time. I don't like pop music because it's just overproduced and boring and what you expect. I like people who take risks, and that's always been attractive to me. But see that so they were listening to her, and Dave Friedman heard the sounds and said, no, it sounds like Yoshimi is either being killed bi or having sex with a robot. And then Wayne was like, well, it's obviously a pink robot. And spun off from there.
Yeah. There was another kind of uglier quote where he was talking about, he goes, the sounds that she was making was either a woman having sex and really enjoying it, or a woman having the shit just beaten out of her.
Yeah.
Yikes. It could be. It's a little of column A, a little of column B. Also on this album is the song Do You Realize, which I did not realize was the Flaming Lips, even though that song has followed me around for 20 years.
So good.
You know, that plays in every bar that I've worked at, every coffee shop I go to. You know, I just didn't realize who it was. That's weird how that happens, because there was a time when I was a kid where I knew the name of every band, and you know, like, you watch enough MTV and listen to enough radio, but now music just kind of washes over me. Like, I hear it and like, oh, I like that, but I don't ever seek out who it is. You know, I don't. There are so many bands that are just like, oh, I don't think I've heard anything by the people. Looking like, oh no, you definitely know this song. Right. Billie Eilish was like that. Like, I don't think I know her. Like, oh yeah, you do. Do
you remember the Vaseline song?
I don't think I do.
Don't use jelly. She uses Vaseline. It's really dumb.
I do remember that song. Yeah.
That's early them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to be honest, I might be right there with you. I may not have known initially that the Flaming Lips sang Do You Realize? You would see it in commercials. It's just and we'll have to play a clip of it. It's this just dreamy, beautiful song, and there's an interview with him talking about how he never gets tired of playing it, because that's the song people come to hear them do. They'll close on it, and it's you know, the whole audience is singing it. That's the song people come for, because it's beautiful. It's great.
It is beautiful, but it's kind of an outlier, at least in the and again, like the Flaming Lips have been recording for almost 40 years. There was no way I could get through their whole discography. But Do You Realize, probably because it's been background music in my life for 20 years, it seemed like the most like throwaway song that they have. Like, everything else that they have is very kind of like arresting. It kind of grabs you by the throat a little bit more. Do You Realize just sort of sits in the background while you're sipping a latte.
Well, it's the same exact story that Robert Smith tells about Friday I'm in Love. And we've talked about how much I hate Friday I'm in Love. Robert Smith and The Cure said they wanted to write one pop song, one silly pop song. And that is exactly what Wayne said about Do You Realize? They said they sat and listened to like current music at the time, like Timbaland and all these other pop music. And we're like, let's try to make something that sounds like this.
Even a track like Do You Realize? You know, we would play it up against Timbaland and some of these things, and we would go back and rework the dynamics so it would have this pop intensity to it, and liking it and thinking that would really work.
And they tinkered with the music and the sound and what was catchy, and Do You Realize was their pop song. And I was like, instead of hating it this time though, it worked. Like, I loved it. They did it very, very well. Do you
that you have the most beautiful face?
That's got to be like to make that attempt. That's always that fascinates me to think of like Taylor Swift and Kanye and people like that are like literally like in the studio just going like, I'm trying to write the song that's going to reach as many ears as possible.
Right.
That's the goal. It's not an accident. That's what we're trying to do. It amazes me that people actually do that.
Yeah. But you know, they're like, there's a formula to it. There is a formula to pop music. There's a formula to what's the earworm and what's the hook and stuff. And I think the Flaming Lips in general weren't interested in that. They were trying to make something original, and like a lot of bands, something original that you've never heard before. But they're like, what would it be like if we tried to do the formula, and what can we make? And it's like, if you did the formula for every song, you might be the biggest band in the world.
They probably could be. That's kind of what struck me is for everything that I listened to is like, how come these guys aren't a hell of a lot bigger than they are? And they are plenty big.
I mean, look at their concerts. They're huge, except for the bubble one. They made that small on purpose. But the Flaming Lips have a following like Fish and, you know, there are specific Lips fans that are a specific type of person.
Yeah, they're going to be so mad when they hear this.
Oh, it's okay, but they'll be happy that we're here. We're here. We're finally here.
So they made a musical out of Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. That
Yeah.
like it has like an actual story. So like the lyrics are obviously they're fanciful and they're fun and they're about this Japanese anime character fighting robots. But the actual musical itself, did you read anything about it?
No, I Sally sent it to me and I was supposed to, but I did my best this week.
The robots become a metaphor. So in the musical, the character Yoshimi is working for the city and she's got a husband. She also has an ex-boyfriend who's trying to get back into her life. So there's a love triangle thing going on there. She's obviously keeping herself, but then she gets very sick. She gets cancer. So the robots are meant to be a metaphor for the cancer cells that are in her body. So when they talk about how she has to take, she's taking lots of vitamins, like this is her like literally like keeping her body healthy because she's got to fight off these cancer cells that are in her body. So that's where the allegory comes from, or that's where they went to.
Did Wayne Coyne have anything to do with this musical, or did someone take it and do that spin themselves?
No, he wrote it, and he put it on. I don't know if it ever went to Broadway. The review that I read of it was from the Los Angeles Times, so it was playing at the La Jolla Playhouse, and apparently he had a bunch of like theatrical luminaries that were working on it with him. Like the set designers and the musical arrangements. The guy who did the musical arrangement is apparently very well known for adopting concept albums or rock music. He did a version of Tommy that was very well received, apparently. Again, it's just all stuff that I read in the LA Times, so I don't know who it was or what his background is, but yeah, he was working with like seriously good theatrical professionals to put this together, and I guess it was amazing. Like they said, the review was talking about how it's about them. It's not necessarily the story that draws you in. There's nothing, but it's the music and the visuals were apparently incredible.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Now that I am like, as of this week, a new huge fan. My toes are in the water, but I'm ready to dive. I'm ready to swim. That sounds really exciting.
And apparently, Aaron Sorkin was involved at one point. Like Aaron Sorkin wanted to come in and do and write the I guess the dialogue. I mean, that's what Aaron Sorkin does, right? Which would have ruined everything.
You think so? Yeah.
I was watching an episode of Inside Amy Schumer, and they did a spoof of an Aaron Sorkin show set in a fast food restaurant, which isn't a very inventive sketch. But at the end of it, the title credit said "Bestowed upon you by Aaron Sorkin." And I was like, "Oh, that's the best of all the Aaron Sorkin singers. That's absolutely the best."
Bestowed upon you.
Bestowed upon you by Aaron.
Oh, that's really funny.
So where did the Flaming Lips get their name? Well, there are 3 theories, apparently, in descending order of grossness. In 1953, there's a film release called Geraldine, and in it, comic Stan Freberg sings a song called The Flaming Lips. So maybe it came from that, huh? That'd be nice. In 1964, there's a film called What a Way to Go, in which Gene Kelly, kind of meta style, stars in a film within a film, and that film is called The Flaming Lips.
Yeah.
You want to know where it really came from?
They like the way it sounded.
No.
That's what I have in my notes, because there's a third one. Okay, but you tell me. Is it the Ralph Waldo Emerson quote?
No, there's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote.
Okay, on my notes, when they talk about the band, he says he wishes he could claim, all these people were like, I think I know what your name means. And he's always like, no. There's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote that says the words, the flaming lips, as though when people speak the brave truth, it comes from their flaming lips. He had great colorful language, and people have often said, Wayne, I know where your name came from. And he goes, I wish it came from that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. So the Flaming Lips are in high school, the young Flaming Lips, Wayne and his brother. And there's a rumor going around, there was a girl got some sexually transmitted disease, herpes, that was passed around because apparently like there was a guy that was going down on her, and he had a cold sore, so he passed on the herpes to her. He had oral herpes, and now she has genital herpes.
Yeah.
So the big childish joke that they were making was, they both have flaming lips.
Oh, the burn and hurt.
That's what stuff.
I didn't get that in
I don't mean to take any shine off of it. It was like, oh yeah, I mean, it's a great name, but I certainly wouldn't want the high school jokes that me and my buddies were passing around to each other to follow me around the rest of my life. But that's...
God, now I want to go back in high school and just think about all the mean things we said, and could you turn that into band names? Like I think of Mean Girls, and I cannot believe there's not a band called the Fugly Sluts.
There must be.
There has to be, right?
That would just look too good on a flyer.
When we used to play trivia all the time, we always had to come up with a name for our group, and I was like, how are we never the Fugly Sluts? Okay, yeah, I had in my notes where Wayne said he just simply liked the sound of it. He must be trying to get away from that story.
No, we just like the sound of it. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't. But this poor girl, and he's like, I have herpes now. I'm saying that, but you know, he's probably just like, I got it, and it's not funny anymore, or something.
We don't need to talk about that.
No.
The way that they got signed to a major label after they've been recording for like 7 years, and in 1990 they got signed to Warner Brothers after they nearly burned down an American Legion Hall in Norman, Oklahoma.
Isn't that crazy? Like the guy came to see that show where they almost killed everybody and was like, let's sign them. Very different from Great White, where it like, you know, basically ended their career because it happened. Yeah.
That was tragic, but it was maybe, I don't mean to make light of it, but it was one of the hardest I've ever laughed with, because Great White burned down a nightclub in the early 2000s, long after they were very big. Yeah. I remember a friend of ours, Mike McRae, kind of showed up that night, and he was just like, I was watching CNN, and there was just like a crawler that just said, like, what could Great White possibly have done?
I know.
To be on CNN.
Oh, yep. Did you? Okay, I know. Obviously, you didn't. I am so interested about that Zarika. I don't even know if I'm saying that. The album that consisted of the 4 compact discs that you play at the same time and they work together. Like they said they would hand out tapes and put them in different people's cars and make them play it. But I'm like, is there a way to do this or hear this online now without me having to go find 4 CD players? Because where am I going to get those?
There must be. And also that's got to be frustrating as hell. Like how do you hit play at exactly the right moment 4 times?
I know, where I'm just like, okay, I have my phone, my iPad, my this, and then Corbin's phone. I'm like, you get one, let's all hit play at the same time. Like that's the only way I can think to do it now. Someone's probably got it online.
And then he did it again, even more elaborately. Like I guess there's an album or a song that he put out that's 12 separate YouTube clips that are meant to be played simultaneously.
That's so fun. This is what, when you just do a lot of hallucinogens, you're just not boring with your thoughts anymore. You have time to come up with great stuff. But he has a kid now. I was listening to him on Mark Maron. He had one very, very much older in life. And I was like, oh, it's over. You don't have time to think of this shit anymore. You're busy now. Welcome to the rest of us.
I was reading an article over it was an interview with him. So it's like I was reading a conversation, and he was talking about how he splurged on a travel van or something like that, and a vacation for his family. And the writer was just like incredulously asking, like, okay, so you're like the psychedelic warrior, and now you're big. Like you bought a Volkswagen and a nice vacation for your family. Yeah, I did.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a good parent, you have to play the game. Have fun, but you got to do it.
I was getting wild.
I do want to see, it said in 2008, the Flaming Lips released their own movie. Christmas on Mars was a science fiction flick influenced psychedelic film that starred all the band members in various roles. Actors Steve Burns, Fred Armisen, and Adam Goldberg also appear in the film. The movie premiered at Sasquatch Music Festival outside Seattle in 2008. I have to see this.
Yeah, I want to see that too. There's no doubt about it. Let's watch it together. Let's take some
Christmas on
acid,
Mars.
man, and watch it together.
I'll do some mushrooms and watch Christmas on Mars with you. That'd be fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
good times. Mhm.
You want to talk about his what happened to him at Long John Silver's, where he worked for a very, very long time?
Yeah, that's a very scary thing. I don't like thinking about that because I don't work in Long John Silver's, but I work in places that are similar to Long John Silver's. Similar in the sense that somebody could come in, put a gun in my face, and hold me in the walk-in cooler for a while.
Yeah, which is what.
Yeah, that's what happened to him. Absolutely terrifying. I remember listening to him talk to Marin about that. Like I can't. I don't know that I've ever had a near-death experience that. What am I trying to say? I've never been held at gunpoint. You know, I've never been in a car accident that was nearly fatal. I've never had a disease that was nearly. I've never had a near-death experience. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would. I don't know what it would do to my brain. Like I have no idea how I would feel about it.
Yeah, and I think it goes one of two ways. You either are grateful that you're alive and you make the most out of your life after that, or you live in like crippling anxiety and fear for the rest of your
That's
life.
true.
You know, it's funny is I think a lot of people, you know, these people that watch like Fox News or like, you know, there's a lot of like our parents and old people, not yours, but
Mhm.
they fall into that fear mongering, and it makes them live in fear of their life when nothing bad has actually ever happened to them. And those are the people when something bad actually does happen and they let go. They're like,
Mhm.
oh, I was living in fear until I saw what the fear actually is. And
Yeah,
you can't live like that.
you can be released from the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's actually like I was terrified of tornadoes my whole life, and then I finally was in one and saw one with my own eyes, and I don't like 3 times, and I don't fear them as much as I did because I realized we don't get tornadoes here like you do in the middle of Oklahoma. You know,
Yeah.
we're not going to get an F1, or we're going to get storms are going to like spin like little ones around in the neighborhood and stuff and do a little bit of damage, but like I'm not going to die a gruesome death with a stake through my face like I
Mhm.
always fear. Or Oz, Wizard of Oz, scared the shit out of me. Yeah.
I'm still absolutely terrified of tornadoes. Absolutely terrified of them. Like I can't. Can you imagine being like it's like the 1850s or something like that, and you're among the first white settlers, white colonialists making their way across the Oklahoma plain, and you see a tornado for the first time?
What
Like,
is that?
there's no. You can only look at that and just go, God is pissed.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it makes so much sense why, you know, it's easy for me to look back on like the way people used to think and what they think about the gods. But when you don't have intelligence yet beyond you and you see that, you're like, the sky's pissed and it's coming for me. Like, yeah, of course you're going to think that. You're going to believe that this is something God did. Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, your first reaction would be like, put down the whiskey, stop masturbating, stop sinning. Look what you've done.
You've angered the sky bully. What? And he's so mad he's erratic. He's not just coming right to our house. He's just fucking mad at everybody right now.
He's mashing all of us right now. Turn around, go back.
It's crazy. He escaped without any physical injuries, and he ended up working at Long John Silver's for 11 years. It's wild.
That would be the end of my Long John Silver's career. Nope.
I do want to talk about their World Guinness record for most concerts performed in multiple cities in a 24-hour time period. The show's
another thing Wayne Coyne has done. This is what I'm saying. Don't try to do anything. Coyne's done it all.
He's like, we can do it. I wonder if it's like the band members are like, like, stop coming up with these ideas. We're tired. I can't do this.
Well, they definitely are. They had a bitter breakup. One of their members left, and it sounds like for exactly this reason that we've just done. But okay. So Wayne Coyne is friends with the former governor of Oklahoma's daughter. A woman whose last name was Hallen, if I remember right. And she was on Instagram in like 2014 wearing an Indian headdress. And one of the members of the Flaming Lips, obviously in a fit of pique, just went absolutely nuts. Like, this is cultural appropriation. This is racism. He just goes like, burn the whole thing down. He comes at Wayne Coyne and the rest of the Lips with both barrels, just like, we can't be part of this. We can't do this, anything. And so it blows up over time, and obviously Wayne Coyne defends himself and the Flaming Lips, you know, saying things like, we're not racist, that wasn't intended to be racist, that was meant to be, you know, a cultural tribute, or things like this. And he, you know, released a photo on Instagram that was like apparently him and a couple of his friends and his dog like wearing an Indian headdress, just kind of like doubling down on it.
Yeah.
Obviously can look unpleasant, but he's having a fight with his bandmate, so it's a different sort of thing. The fight goes on for a couple of months, and eventually the band member, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but he eventually publishes a long apology to Wayne for calling him racist, and basically admits that it was musical differences. It was exactly what you were talking about. Like the Flaming Lips were doing like concept albums with Miley Cyrus, and they were, you know, and the stuff that they were doing with Yoshimi, and all of the really weird stuff that Wayne was doing, this guy didn't agree with. He was just like, why can't we just write straight ahead rock music? Why does it always have to be a gimmick? That's what he was mad about. So this guy apparently would like push and pull. Like when they would go into the recording studio to actually record, he'd be all in and loving it. But when they were doing this weird like concept arty shit, he was just like, he didn't want to be a part of it. So he wasn't all in on the band. And eventually, once he got over his anger, he was able to admit, it was like, okay, well, I mean, if you want to be a member of the Flaming Lips, you have to go all in. You know, I can't just be there half the time. So he kind of came back around. I don't know if they're friends again, but yeah, they actually did have a blow up over exactly what you were talking about, where the band members really are like, oh, fucking wait, come on, stop.
Do this with you anymore. I'm getting too old for this shit. I imagine that's the thought. Like, this was fine when we were younger, but I cannot do this anymore. What was I gonna say? Hold on, I just liked all the fun facts. Okay, I think I'm done with my fun facts. I did just want to say the Bubble Show. I wish I could have gone to the Bubble Show. Go on YouTube, go to the Flaming Lips YouTube, and it's the first video. It's their biggest video. I mean, not only is every person in the crowd in a bubble, and it's very organized, very grid-like bubbles, and then every band member is in their own bubble, and then of course Wayne is in his bubble and goes out and kind of crowd surfs the bubbles, which looked it looked hard. It looked like he was struggling, like, where do I put my foot? And you know, yeah, it looked really difficult, but it's beautiful to look at. It looks like, you know, very clean, very sudsy. So Corbin's cousin Michael, he lives in New York, and he's a super fan of Flaming Lips. He got very excited when I said we were doing this, and I was like, do you have anything to add? And he was like, he just gave me a couple fun facts, and he said during this tour, he saw them a bunch, and he watched Wayne help all the roadies lift amps and set up the show. He was hauling shit in that white suit. He's not some diva and then he went on and put on like this insane show. That's always nice to hear. Someone who's not just going to sit back like, you know, he's just like, "Lo, I'm help you. Let's do this." The second fact was all the furries that they have on stage. There's always furries. It's a big thing with the Flaming Lips. That all the furries that they have on stage dancing are often celebrities in disguise.
Really?
It's very The Masked Singer, but yeah. Which I was like, and I love that I'm assuming they just never divulge. It's just celebrities that want to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I don't blame them. If I was on that level and somebody was doing that, I would definitely want to do it too.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
For sure. I think we flamed the lips.
I think we did. Let's go to 6 Degrees of Tinted Windows. I think Jeremy was excited about this one and see how he connected the Flaming Lips to
Hey friends, welcome to Rather. This week we're going to connect Tinted Windows to the Flaming Lips. Why so self-involved, you might ask? Well, because the first step involves, me. Yes, back in 2014, I shot a pilot with Flaming Lips multi-instrumentalist Stephen Droz about record stores. If you're watching the video version of this, I inserted a screenshot of us because I don't know how to include the full YouTube clip, but if you'd like to watch the whole thing, search Vinyl Intervention on YouTube. Anyway, 5 years after my meeting with Stephen, one of my bands, The Defeated County, released our album, An Early Fall, which was mastered by Brad Sarno. Sarno has done a lot of mastering work also for Jay Farrar, best known to some as one of the founders of seminal alt-country legends, Uncle Tupelo. Before that band broke up, it included bassist John Stearett, who would later go on to form the supergroup Candy Gold, with drummer Bunny Carlos, who holds the same throne in Tinted Windows. So this week we went the Flaming Lips to, me, to Uncle Tupelo, to Tinted Windows. Back to Dianne.
That was fantastic.
No wonder he was so excited to do this one.
Those were some good photos, man. He's looking good.
I know. That's really exciting. He's like, ah, I get to make this one about me. I love it. All right. So again, thank you so much to Sally Brooks for being the Patreon member who chose this song. Everyone, Sally has a new album out. Go get Sally's new album. It's called Street Bird. You can get it on iTunes, Amazon Music, Bandcamp. It's all over the place. So Sally Brooks, Street Bird. It's very funny. And go listen to her podcast, Dumb Love Podcast, which we have promoted a bunch of times on the show. It's very enjoyable. But now it's time to draw December Patreon, the last Patreon of this year. So, and December, you know, we're gonna take off 2 weeks at the end of December because it's the holidays. I'll be in Ireland. I'm tired. I can't. I think we'll just do 2 weeks in December. But we will do a song in December by James Brown. Your buddy James Brown is back.
Yes. All right.
All right.
I will ask him when I see him tonight.
All right, perfect. Do you have a deep cut this week?
I do. I don't know if we've talked about it before, but my deep cut, this is he's a musician called the Mattoid that I kind of found through Doug Stanhope, listening to Doug's podcast. He would close his shows with songs, or he would close episodes of his podcast with songs by this guy who calls himself the Mattoid, and he's from Mattoid.
Okay.
I want to say he's from Finland or somewhere thereabouts.
Okay.
And he's just this wild musician that I think Doug discovered in Nashville or Memphis or something. Like, not that Doug discovered him, but like Doug was at a show and he saw this guy playing this incredibly strange music. Like he's weirdly confrontational in a friendly way. You know,
okay.
Like it's impossible to describe. And it's really hard for me to pick a favorite song of his because he has a song called Hey Dude, which is like a takeoff of Hey Joe, which is a lot of fun. And he basically converts Hey Joe into an Eskimo. So it's impossible to describe. Okay. The song that I picked is a song called Yuri Gagarin by the Mattoid.
I'm gonna fly just like Yuri Gagarin. I'm gonna fly just like Yuri Gagarin, all the way. Hey, hey, hey. I'm gonna fly.
And it's the sweetest, most gentle.
Is that the astronaut?
The astronaut, yeah. He was the first man in space. So the chorus is, you're gonna fly like Yuri Gagarin. And it's honestly, it's almost like, it's like you're dreaming. Like, it's just the most delightful thing in the world. But go onto YouTube and just search the Mattoid. You'll be glad that you did. I put him on at Grand Prize all the time. And all these like music heads will come in like, what in the fuck is this? I mean, you mean besides awesome? Like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Oh, nice. I'm excited.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. Doug was the one that turned me on to, I hate when I start talking and I know I don't remember the name of the band. When we had him on the podcast, the girl that was sitting next to him is in the band. I'm just going to pass on it because I can't remember what they're called, but they're fucking great. So my deep cut this week, it just goes back to a personal time in the 90s. Do you remember the band Anything Box?
No.
Okay. Their big hit was Living in Oblivion. Like that. Got huge radio play everywhere. I mean, I think people might even consider them a one-hit wonder because Living in Oblivion was huge. Mm-hmm. But on their first album that was popular, there was a song called Carmen. So the thing about Anything Box, they were very, very new wave and very early 90s new wave. And for some reason, like I grew up with a lot of Asian friends, like a lot of like Asians lived in my neighborhood and went to my school. And the Asians just loved Anything Box for some reason. The band wasn't Asian. I don't know what it was, but I mean, the Asians that I grew up with loved new wave music in general, but they really loved Anything Box. And they loved this one song called Carmen. And it wasn't a huge song on their album, but it blew my mind. Like fast forward to the 2000s, Anything Box, they're all old now, but still doing little tours. And I go to the concert and it's full of Asians that I didn't go to school with, and they are all screaming out to hear Carmen. And I'm like, why do you all like this song? You don't understand. It wasn't even a popular song. But why it's personal to me is the opening line of it is, there was a girl who used to live at the gray house by the bridge. Carmen's her name, whatever. And I lived right next to a bridge. And I remember one time standing out my driveway, my Asian friends were walking over, and my friend E.T., his name was E.T., started singing, "There was a girl who used to live at the gray house by the bridge. Diane's her name." And then I became Carmen in the song. And so I developed a love for it.
There was a girl who used to live at the grey house by the bridge, at the edge of the empty world. Carmen's the name that evokes the fear and shame from the people that she left behind.
But
I'm going to ask every Asian I see about the song Carmen by Anything Box, and they're going to look at me like, that is some really highly specific racism there.
it really is. And they have to be 45 and up, or they're not going to know.
Deal.
45 and up, Houston. I mean, just get the feel if they liked new wave music in general, and then be like, hey, how about Carmen by Anything Box? And if they freak out, go, why? What is it? I don't get it.
You got to come on my podcast and give me some answers.
Why this song? I think the girl in the song kills herself. If you listen to the whole song, it's kind of sad, but or she goes away. But anyway, that's mine. Next week, it's going to be our last guest of the year. It was funny. He's a comedian. His name is Billy Wayne Davis, and it's so crazy. Like, all of our friends know him. All of our comedy friends are friends with Billy, and they know him. And I've never met him in person. Yeah. But he has a new special or new album coming out, and he had put on Twitter, like, do you have a podcast? I want to be on it. I got to promote some stuff. And I sent him ours, and he's like, yes. So next week, we will have Billy Wayne Davis, and he has chosen, we're going back to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but this time we are doing Californication.
Excellent. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, that's a great song to get into the lyrics, to be honest. It has a very specific message.
For sure. I got some California stories as well. Some California crushings.
Yeah. All right. Well, we did it.
And Vogue.
1, 2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Dianne Gallagher. Music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.